Hey, this is James Robbins, and I want to welcome you to this training on how to turn your presentations into profitable online courses, even if you've never done this before. Now, I'm going to cover a lot of things on this training today, but let's make sure that you're in the right place because this is for a very specific group of people, all right? So who's this for? This is for paid speakers or consultants, people who are workshop trainers or seminar leaders, basically anyone who makes a living by teaching their knowledge and expertise from the stage or in the room or in the boardroom, whatever it might be. Okay, so that's who this is for. And maybe even more specifically, this is for speakers and consultants who want to add additional revenue streams to their business to earn more and protect their business from natural downswings in this industry, like recessions. Also, this is for speakers who want to add a follow-up program to their presentations, so they are not leaving money on the table every time they go in and speak. It's also for Gen X and Boomer speakers who are worried about the changes in the speaking industry. If you're a Gen Xer or a Boomer, most of you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these shifts. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, especially for those who sometimes sense that maybe you are losing speaking gigs because of your age. And I'm here to tell you, yes, that's happening. Also, this is for speakers who are getting road weary and would love to transition more of your business off stage, or maybe even all of your business. So if any of those resonate for you, then I think you're going to love what we're going to talk about in the training here today. All right. So, but who this is not for, if you're looking to add 100,000 plus a year to your business without putting in the work, this is not for you. This would be the time to log off. Or if you're looking for the next shiny gimmick, tactic, or strategy that's just going to magically make you rich, or all you want to do is be a speaker and nothing else. So if you want to be a speaker and you don't want to create online courses, then this training is not going to be for you. Now listen, I know your time's valuable, my time's valuable, and sometimes you go on these trainings, I know I do, and I think, well, should I even stay here? Is this worth my time? So let me hopefully answer that question for you of why you should stay. And I've been in the speaking business for 20 years now, so I know how this thing works. And I also know that there are a lot of people out there who are always trying to take your money, right? And there is nothing to buy today. In other words, I don't have a pitch for you at the end with all these bonuses and things like that. There's no reason to pull out your credit card. Also, I know how to help you turn your programs and keynotes into profitable courses quickly, even if you've never done this before, because I've done it many times. And I will be blunt with you on this training about what it really takes to be successful in adding online courses and programs to your speaking business. Because many of us, we would be creating courses in the corporate market. And I'm telling you, that is absolutely a different animal than for many of the people who are teaching how to create online courses in the B2C market. All right. So here's what we're going to cover on today's training. I'm going to go through the 6 steps for speakers to launch a profitable online course in 2020. Also, I'm going to talk about what is the first course you should create before you create any others. That's if you create any others, but what's the first one you should start with? I'm also going to show you the biggest mistakes speakers make when they go to design their course and what to do instead so that you create raving fans of your work. I'm also going to show you how to get paid to create your course and then launch it in less than 60 days. Yes. I'm also going to take you inside my business, and I'm going to show you how I turn out courses regularly and generate passive income every month in my speaking business, leadership business, all right? Now, so again, we're going to cover a lot here. I know this is going to be worth it for you, but here's the thing. The sad thing about most speakers is that they have such a good heart and intention to make a difference in people's lives, but many struggle to build a sustainable business that actually supports them. And one of the challenges is that their business relies solely on them. And if something were to happen to their health, their income would drop to near zero. And then the other thing is sometimes we travel so much that we have yet to meet our new neighbors, even though we moved into the neighborhood 5 years ago, right? Well, many of these things, listen, that was me. I was a broke speaker once, and I was working insane amount of hours trying to find gigs, which took time away from my family, like searching conferences and call, send, call, and because I needed the cash flow, I took on any client I could and ended up lowering my fee and flying all over the country for peanuts. I had no additional revenue stream beyond books and keynotes. And for those of you who have books, you know that books aren't necessarily a great revenue stream anyways. They're a good business generator, but not necessarily a great revenue stream. and business was a constant grind. And listen, for those of us who are older, we understand that our industry is shifting. Our industry is shifting. There's a reason why that many older speakers are having a harder time getting work. And I'm not going to go through all of those reasons today, but one of the reasons is the millennials are beginning to take over even as meeting planners. And so you've got millennial meeting planners, and they're looking at a group of speakers, and so, they can choose some 30-something who they think is very in tune to their workforce, or maybe somebody who's in their 50s and 60s. I'm telling you, our industry is shifting, and you have to shift with it, right? You have to shift with it. And you're going to do that by packaging your knowledge into online offerings. So imagine for a moment, if you could pocket $20,000 to $30,000 a month in your speaking business without having to jump on a plane and still have a tremendous impact while building sustainable wealth for you and your family. Imagine that for a moment. What would that do for you? What would that do for your life? What would that do for your health? Well, can you see that? Because I'm telling you, that can be a reality. And so let's go. Let's jump into this, because I'm going to show you the steps to make that happen. All right. So have you ever experienced this? The same marketing techniques that used to land you gigs don't seem to be working anymore. Or you've lost a job because of your age. Now, no one's going to tell you that. No one is going to tell you that, because that would be illegal. I'm pretty sure it is. But you sense it, or you know it. You've lost a job because of your age. Or you're making a short list to speak at events, but someone else seems to always win the sale. Or you keep attracting clients who want you to discount your fee. Or maybe you're just tired of travel, but you feel like you have no choice, because if you don't travel, you don't get paid. Well, I want to introduce you to Kevin. Kevin Burns is a fantastic speaker. He speaks on safety. And Kevin first contacted me because he was actually, two things prompted him. One, he was tired of the travel. He was tired of just flying all over the place to do a one-off speaking job. So even though the speaking pays well, he was getting tired of the travel as he's getting older. And the second one was beginning to be concerned about health as he gets older, and thinking about if something happens to his health and he goes down and can't speak, he doesn't have income for his wife. And so he began thinking, hey, I've got to think differently. And this is an important thing for many of us. Then listen, how would it feel to have a passive revenue stream that surpasses your speaking income? Knowing that if you never got on a plane again, you'll be okay. Listen, before I go any further, just really quick, who am I? For those of you who don't know me, my name's James Robbins. I'm a former pastor turned leadership expert, kind of followed in the footsteps of John Maxwell. Not that I'm at his level, but took that same path. I do keynotes and executive coaching. I wrote a book called 9 Minutes on Monday, which was named #1 Business Book of the Year. I was excited about that. I run a leadership education company, and I've delivered over 2,000 speeches from the stage. Got to share the stage with some of my mentors, like John Maxwell. This was actually us down in South America, training some business leaders. But I've also created an entire library of online courses to serve my tribe, which is managers and executives. Now, why do I share all that? Because before I ever started helping speakers launch online courses, I've done it many times myself. In other words, I did not sell a course on how to create a course as the only course I've ever created, right? I've been doing this for years. Now, a little bit about me. So what drives me in life is really these three circles, trying to live in the middle of this Venn diagram of my family being important, making a difference, and having freedom. And especially that last circle about having freedom, that's so important to me. And for those of us who are older, you'll remember this movie, right? The Shawshank Redemption with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. And they were both in prison. And Tim Robbins' character was falsely imprisoned, and the whole movie he's trying to escape. And I felt like that in my career, and that's one of the reasons I launched a speaking business. But I remember launching a speaking business and being excited about it, but little did I know that this was the beginning of sort of a perfect storm, because all of a sudden 2008 happened. Remember that massive recession for those of us who've been in the speaking business for a while? And overnight, it's like budgets dried up, Conferences were canceled, training budgets were slashed, speakers had to quit and go back and get jobs. And I remember struggling to hold on. And we got so broke at one point, I couldn't make my car payment. And I still remember one day I'm at my parents' house, and there was this knock on the door, and my mom answered, and then she came back and she said, James, someone's here to see you. And she had this concerned look on her face, and I got up, and it was the repo man, and he was there to repossess our car. And my parents were confused because they had no idea that we were struggling so much. And I remember this walk of shame, walking up the driveway to give this guy my keys, and he loads the Jeep on this trailer, and actually he was pretty great about it. He was like, "Hey man, look, this happens to a lot of people. You'll get through this." I mean, this is maybe the only repo guy to ever encourage their client. I don't know, but anyways, I watched the Jeep drive away, and I felt so ashamed. I felt like such a failure. And then not long after this, something to me even worse happened. We were fighting these cash flow battles, and I remember my son needed some money for something for school, and I said, "Hey, I don't have it yet, but I'll have it soon, and son, we'll be out of this soon." And he said, "No, we won't, Dad." He said, "You always say that, but it never changes." And I just remember thinking, oh. And I kind of back to the movie Shawshank Redemption. Remember when Tim Robbins' character, he's digging out of the jail, and then he gets into the sewer pipe, and he's just crawling through sewage like a mile. And that's how I felt during that time, just like trying to get a break. And then in 2011, I wrote a book which was published by McGraw-Hill, and that certainly helped, gave me a bump to my speaking business. But that really became a main workshop for me. So I was traveling around doing the workshop, and that was great. But what really changed things was when I took my workshop, not a keynote, but one of my workshops, and I turned it into an online course. And at first I didn't know how to sell it, and I had to figure this out. And I was using webinars, and I didn't know if you could do that with corporate, but I began tweaking it, refining it, and then I remember the day when I did a webinar and I made $14,000 in 1 hour on the webinar. And then my next webinar, I did $19,000. Then my next webinar, I did $23,000. And all of a sudden, I felt like, hey, I was getting somewhere. In fact, I felt like this, the same emotions that I think this character felt when he escaped from prison, because I realized, hey, if I can do this now, I can continue to do this for the rest of my life. And over the years now, I've created an entire library of courses to serve my tribe. Now, why did I tell you all of that? Well, for two reasons. Number one, I want you to see that I understand the struggle because I've been there. And secondly, an online course can change everything for you in your speaking business, and it can change it quickly. Well, there's one main shift that you have to make sure that you undergo, and that's this, that you are not a speaker. I sometimes meet people, whether it's at an NSA meeting or something, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a speaker." I'm like, you are not a speaker. Speaking is one thing that you do. You are not a speaker, because guess what? Speakers are vulnerable. I want you to meet Beth. Beth Terry is just a phenomenal speaker. She's been in this industry for a long time. In fact, she's given over 3,000 speeches from the stage. But one day, Beth was in Atlanta airport on a layover coming home from a speaking engagement. And you know those snow globes? You see it on the screen here? Well, somebody had dropped one. And I guess there's oil mixed in with the water. She didn't see it, and she stepped on this spot. She slipped and fell and broke her neck. Yes, she broke her neck. Now, she was very lucky that she wasn't paralyzed. But this ended up grounding her for over a year, and that killed her business. It killed her speaking business because she couldn't get up and get on stage. And that's why I say speakers alone are vulnerable. So you're not a speaker. Remember, you are a subject matter expert. There's different ways to get our expertise across. Yes, from the stage. Yes, through a book. But you know what? Through an online course, because I'm going to show you 6 different ways that you can actually use online courses to 10x your business. All right. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to see the possibilities here. I want you to see it's not just about creating a course like you create a book. It's creating a course, but then using it strategically. All right, so let's talk about 6 quick ways here. Number 1 is actually to get more speaking gigs. When you create a course, it actually drives business for you, much like a book would. So let me give you an example. I was doing a webinar selling my signature course, and I did a special deal, and people could buy it for just under $2,000. So I had a company buy it, and then they were starting to look at the course, and they said, "Hey, would you come out and actually speak to our company?" And I said, "Sure." Well, you've already bought my course, so I gave them a discount. Instead of $10,000, I charged them $7,500. I flew out to Texas, did this keynote. Then the executives started doing my program. Then what happened was the HR lady, she said our senior executives wanted to first try my program, but then after only the first session, they decided, hey, we need to roll this out to all the managers within our organization. Call them and get them to come back. So they called me again, and I said, okay, sure, I'll come on back. And just by selling my course turned into almost $17,000 in work and speaking gigs. This is just one example where this has happened several times. So a course can get you more speaking gigs, but also an online course can help you fill in the cash flow gaps. So I'm not sure how your business goes, but my business looks like a little bit like this from a leadership perspective. There are times in the year when people just don't have conferences or they don't invite speakers in. It's during those moments that I can ramp up and do like specials for promotions for any of my courses. And so I'll use that to fill in. And so November, December, I typically will do something. In fact, I just did a webinar, made $23,000 on that. I mean, imagine where anytime that you know that you have cash flow gaps, you just plug in promotions for your courses. And it's really effective. Also, number 3, your online course can give you competitive advantage. For getting speaking jobs. Let me give you an example of this. So let's say I'm pitching to speak at a conference or at a company, and then there's other speakers that are pitching as well. So I'm on the short list, and the speaker number 1, they're like, hey, I have this great workshop. I have a printed workbook. And then I'm saying, well, I'm going to actually send you some pre-training. Then I'm going to give you a great customized workshop based on some of the pre-training. Yes, I have a printed workbook, and I've got a follow-up bonus course for you. All of a sudden, I've just stacked the deck in my favor, because what are people looking for today? They're looking for value. They're looking for transformation. They don't just want a speech. You know how many people, and you've heard this, people say, well, one speech doesn't really change much. And I'm the one to come in and tell them that, yeah, one speech doesn't change much, which is why you need to hire me to come in, because I'm going to give you this follow-up program, and that's going to help people make the changes that stick, right? Because meeting planners are out there, and they're trying to decide, which speaker to choose, and all of a sudden you're coming along and you're like, oh, and I've got this other offering or these bonuses for you. It makes a huge difference. Let me give you another example of how this can work in your favor. So I get a call from an HR association, because I speak a lot to HR, and they were like, hey, would you come in? And it was a not even a state chapter, it was a local chapter. And I said, sure, I'd love to come in. And they said, what would you charge? And I said, well, my fee is $10,000. And I'm pretty sure that they didn't have that. And they basically said, we can't afford you. In fact, they said the most we have ever paid for a speaker is $3,000. So that's a big gap, right? So I said, hey, let me tell you what. I found out that their association, they have these events. They also bring people from the community because they're trying to grow their membership. I said, listen, I'm going to come in and do a kickoff keynote for you. I'm going to come do a kickoff keynote, and then I'm going to give every single person in the audience a copy of my program, my signature 10-week leadership program. Everyone gets a copy. This way, you can also invite the community and community leaders. It's going to be a way for you to reach out and for you to grow your membership. And I'll even discount my fee, and I'll charge you $7,500 for this entire package. And they said, okay, you got a deal. And so I had just gone from, hey, we've never paid more than $3,000 to they signed off on $7,500 because I had that online course to add more value to the deal. 4th reason, lead generation overdrive. I'm telling you, this has made me so much money. I'll show you what I mean by this. Having an online course is like the ultimate lead generator. Now, have you ever been to spoke at a conference where they tell you you cannot sell from the stage, right? They warn you with that. And so even though you have your creative ways of how to seed into your language so that people will still think of hiring you, you still can't sell from stage. So what I've done is those kind of conferences I go to, I usually will offer one of my courses, because I have many, right? I'll offer one of my courses as a gift, a take-home gift. And as people sign up for that, obviously they can also hire me. So once I started doing this, let me show you what happened. So this was an HR conference I spoke at, and I literally could not keep up with. Look at the. This is a stack of people who are like, yes, I want the course. I want the course. I ran out of paper. People were giving me stacks of their business cards. But look at this pile. This pile was people who also checked another little box. It's hard to see there, but it says, please have James call me. Now look, here's another conference I just did. Look at this. That first stack, that's 500 people who said, yes, I want this course. And their stack below is 111 people who also said, please have James contact me. 111. Now listen, what would that do for your speaking business? I had 800 in the audience. 500 people raised their hand and said, yes, I want this course. 111 said, call me, James. What would that do for your speaking business? Let me tell you what that would do. That does this for your speaking business. Now, I couldn't do this before when I didn't have online courses. I just had like, hey, sign up for my newsletter. Hey, give me your email and I'll send you the slides to the presentation. That's all I had. But that's weak and ineffective compared to this. All right, so lead generation overdrive. Number 5, you can create more robust offerings. Now, let me show you how that looks. You can start offering these hybrid offerings where instead of just speaking, you're also offering your online program. I did that in one company where they wanted my program, but they wanted me to also come kick it off. And so I went and kicked it off in 3 of their offices, and I just packaged it all together, and I gave them a big discount because it was all in like 10-day time. And so it's over $22,000. But that came because I had an online program. And then number 6, and maybe what's even most exciting for me, it's a passive revenue stream. Because a successful online course can give you the freedom to work from anywhere. I told you what's important to me already. My kids having a purpose and freedom. And so I remember saying to my youngest daughter, because she was doing virtual school, I said, hey, let's just go to Costa Rica. Let's just go down there. And you do school till noon, I'll work till noon, and then we'll just go on crazy adventures. And that's what we did. And we're like jumping off waterfalls, we're having the time of our life. But one of the days I'm down there, we're down at this village called Montezuma on the Nicoya Peninsula. And I took a photo of this street because I was walking down the street. We were on our way to watch some sea turtles hatch. You see these little black things on the sand. It was pretty cool. But anyways, and we're walking down the street, and there's Wi-Fi in one of the cafes, and my phone goes off. And I get an email, and people were buying my leadership course. Someone had just bought my course for $5,000. $5,000 while I'm in Costa Rica hanging out with my daughter. And guess what? Because I set it up the way I set it up, I didn't even have to respond to the email. That was all taken care of because it's all automated. Hurricane Matthew came through, knocked out my power. I rode out the storm. And when the power came on, guess what? I had sold courses while the hurricane was rolling through. My last 3 months, I was in Thailand. I sold courses. I went to Brazil. I sold courses. I went back up to Canada to visit my family because it had been too long. While I was there, I sold courses. This is the kind of flexibility and power that you have when you have online programs. And so, listen, when you have a passive income option, it allows you to make money from anywhere if that's what you want to do. So, imagine what an online course can do for your speaking business. So let's jump in now to some big ideas that I have for you, okay? So big ideas about, hopefully by now I've helped you see even more the reasons why you've got to do this, why you've got to stop putting this off, why you've got to take action and make this year the year that you're going to do this, all right? So big idea number 1, if you're going to be successful at this, in order to be successful, you need to create the right course for the right people. Now, here's the 6 steps to launching for speakers. And I'll walk through them, but one at a time. And step 1 really is the right course for the right people. Right course for the right people. Now, remember what I said? You are a subject matter expert. And remember Beth who'd done 3,000 speeches. She spoke on every topic imaginable. She's amazing. But there is a curse of being a talented expert. For many speakers that I know, they can speak on many things. Time management? Yeah, I can do that. Leadership? Yeah, I can do that. Personal excellence? Yeah, I can do that. But I'm telling you, this is not how to approach course building. And let me go back to Beth here for a moment. One of the challenges with Beth when I started working with Beth is she didn't know what to create a course on because she literally had done, I don't know how many different presentations and talks before. I mean, if there's a topic, she can speak on it. But we have to get away from that mentality, and we've got to switch back into, you're a subject matter expert, not a speaker. So what is the subject that you're an expert on? Where should you start, right? So where should you start? So you want to think signature first, then satellites. When I say signature, even if you only create one course, that's fine. But you're going to create a signature course. It's going to be your main offering. So signature first, then satellites. There's a natural progression there because you're going to start here, but there's always going to be more things that your tribe wants, right? That your people who are on your email list, and you can create other courses later, quick courses. But you want to start with your first one, your signature one. Now, here's the thing. The right course solves the biggest pain point your ideal clients have. The right course solves the biggest pain point your ideal clients have. So what is that? Now, for a lot of us, we go and we do these keynotes, right? But the challenge with keynotes are general. They're meant to inspire. They're meant to lift energy. Yes, to give a couple of tools here. But keynotes are different than courses. The right course solves the biggest pain point your ideal clients have. So think breakout session, not keynote. You know, when you go to a conference and it's a big conference and they have many breakouts, the breakouts are highly targeted. They're highly specific. The key here is to think narrow and specific with your courses. And listen, when you don't do this, when you don't get this, it's like you create a course that's difficult to sell because it's like watered down lemonade. No one wants to drink watered down lemonade. And when you're not narrow and specific, your course will get lost in a vast sea of others. All right? Because there's a lot of people creating courses today. And so you want to keep it narrow and specific, but you want to start with a signature course that's built around what's the biggest pain point that you can solve. Because the thing with creating an online program, you don't have to solve everything. And you're not trying to just raise awareness like in a keynote. You're actually trying to solve a problem. All right, let's go to big idea number 2. Instructional design is the key to creating a course that produces results and sets you apart from the thousands of crappy courses on the internet. And so that brings us to step 2, which is all about your step-by-step process. Now, here's the thing. A speech and an online course are completely different mediums. Because one of the biggest mistakes that I see speakers make when they want to create a course, because they'll call me about this and they'll say, hey, so somebody just filmed my keynote or somebody just filmed my workshop. So I'm just thinking of taking that video and just chopping it up, and that's my online course. And I'm like, no, no, and no, don't do that. In the same way, you wouldn't take the book that you wrote and go up on stage, sit in a chair and read it, right? Of course you wouldn't. But wait, it's the same material. But you wouldn't do that because it's a different medium. You have to think of courses in the same way. A speech and an online course are completely different mediums. Do not record your session and then just make that your course. You can bring in clips from you speaking live. I do that in my courses, in some of them, but it's a different medium. So I don't know if any of you have gone to ATD or if you've ever spoke there. So I've spoke at ATD. Actually, I'm speaking again coming up this year. But listen, when you're speaking at ATD, you really start to immerse yourself in this whole world of what we call instructional design. Because learning online is different than sitting in an audience. So here's an important truth. Your course is really about a transformation. In fact, it's transformation, not information. As speakers, we are good at giving information. Yes, we have a few practicals. Yes, we have an acronym. Yes, we've got our 3 points or whatever it might be. But courses are different. Transformation, not information. Your course is a little bit like a bridge. People are trying to get from A to B. And our course is the bridge, right? So we're the one that's filling in this gap so that they can cross from A to B. And really, they don't want our course. They want to go from A to B. And it's important that we define that for them. So how do we create effective courses? Online learning is actually more about structure. It's more about structure. And so lesson design becomes more important than ever. And that's why we want to tap into the concepts of instructional design. That's why we want to use Kolb's model, which you see on the left, making sure that we're cycling through all 4 of those components every lesson that we teach. Also, that we're taking into consideration attention spans and that we're doing things to re-engage people when the brain, we know from research, when the brain dips out. And thirdly, that we're tapping into the emotional engagement drivers, the things that are going to bring people back into the learning, back into the course. You have to bake those into your course, right? And here's the thing. If you don't get this right, you will simply have a course filled with information that no one will finish. Sure, you might have fancy marketing that sells it, but no one's going to finish it. And let me tell you, when no one finishes your course, it's not good for business, especially in the corporate sector where you need people. And if where you need people to actually get their transformation. Also, if you want to have other courses that you're going to sell, then let's create quality courses. I mean, hey, after all, this is your brand. Like, your name is behind this. So let's do it excellently. The good thing about this is there's science to this. There is a formula to this. And when you follow the formula of instructional design and bake that into your course, then listen, you're going to have what we call your courses create raving fans. And you become the go-to expert. In fact, when you have this, it becomes even easier to sell your courses, not just sell them, but create them. I went on a course marketplace where one of my courses is, and I noticed, there was reviews of my course, so I just printed it out. And you see all these 5-star reviews. That's not because I am good at presenting from the stage. It's because I followed the formula for how to create online training, right? And here's the thing. HR and meeting planners, they don't want to be the bad parent. And what I mean by that is, if you're selling corporate especially, HR and meeting planners, they don't want to be the ones that are like, eat your vegetables, these are good for you, eat your vegetables. But that's how a lot of meeting planners and HR people feel about online education, because people roll their eyes like, I got to go do this online course because there's so many crappy courses. HR doesn't want to be the bad parent. So when you can show HR that, look, here's what some people are saying about my training, it gets their attention because people just don't really rave about online courses that much, okay? So big idea number 2 is you've got to use the principles of instructional design to create your courses. Big idea number 3, how to get paid to produce your course and launch it in less than 60 days. This is the exciting part. So there are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you to just go ahead and create your course and then sell it. But it can be a monstrous task. It's like you're this little astronaut and you got to build this big rocket by yourself, and then you're going to launch it and you don't even know if it's going to work, right? And so why are we going to do that? And so this brings us to step number 3, and step number 3 is all about a beta launch. A beta launch is where we pre-sell our course and then we take a group through with transformational teaching. So this can look in one of 2 different ways for people who are speakers. So basically, the beta course, what you do is you get a small group of people. You get them to sign up and pay. Maybe they're going to pay a little bit less, but they're going to pay. That's an important part. And then you are going to walk them through your course. You're going to teach them. Maybe it's going to be 3 modules. Maybe it's going to be 4 modules. And at the end of that, you're going to evaluate. You're going to have some of your own self-evaluation of how you felt about it, but you're also going to get their feedback. So that's one way. The other way is similar to this, but instead of teaching it over a couple of weeks, you're doing it in a beta webinar or an online workshop. So that works as well. I've done both methods. All right. Now, why would we even do this? Why would we even create a beta course? Well, we do it for several reasons. Number 1 is to test your idea and establish proof of concept. The only thing I would say is, unless you've already done this workshop, 50 times and it's just proven, okay, that's different. You can package that up. But even then, you should consider doing a beta course, because for this very reason, you establish proof of concept. Also, number 2, you get paid to produce your program. Right? You get paid to produce it. Number 3, you can solicit feedback from students. And this is so important to help make your course better. Fourthly, you get testimonials that you can use later. And that's going to be key when it comes to actually selling and marketing. Number 5, you minimize financial risk because you're getting money brought in. Or if the idea just doesn't fly, and no one's buying it, then okay, good. We're not going to waste time building it then. And number 6, you create a superior course. That's the thing. You create a superior course. I want to introduce you to Roberta. So Roberta is, she does some speaking, but actually more coaching. She's a brand coach, a reputation coach. And Roberta decided to launch her beta, and she did the 4-week version where she taught one lesson each week. And I just want to let you know, Roberta is 70. She is 70 years old, but she was so thrilled because within only a few weeks, she had launched and conducted her first live 4-module program online. She made money on it, which is important as well. And one of the things I have to keep telling Roberta is, listen, you don't have to be perfect. Because one of the things that holds us back when we're creating a course is we think it's got to be perfect, but in your beta, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be flashy or fancy. It's just our beta. So let me give you an example of a beta that I had done. So it was on the Art of Difficult Conversations. So I threw up a sales page. I hadn't created a single slide. I just knew this was a need in our community. So I created the slide where you could sign up. I did it as a workshop. I had people sign up. There was a group rate or individual rate. I collected $3,500. I went and taught the course. I got feedback. After I did that, I re-recorded the modules, and I just finished editing it, and now it's in my library, bringing in sales on autopilot. And so here's the thing. A beta course ensures a fast start and momentum. It gets you going because creating an online program, it can take some time, right? And so momentum is key. But listen, when you don't go through this beta process, when you don't have this, you can waste so much time and money creating a course that doesn't even sell. And who wants to do that? And also you get bogged down in the complexity of course creation and never actually finish the project. But when you do this, when you go through this beta process, you can launch quickly. Usually within a few weeks, you create a far superior course and you can generate cash flow almost immediately. I want you to meet Michelle and Stephanie. And so they decided to actually team up. 2 talented ladies, both speakers, also coaches. They decided to team up and create a program, and it was called Turmoil to Triumph. And it was very specific to help leaders going through a lot of change. And so, I worked with them to make sure they were making it narrow and specific, and they were able to quickly launch a beta course. They made $2,600 just on their beta launch, right? And that's how it works. Now that they're done their beta, now they're turning it into their final program. I want you to meet Tim Durkin. Tim is just such a fantastic human being. And Tim, within 60 days, had closed a deal for online courses with a long-term client for nearly $45,000 within 60 days because he already had the relationships with the clients. And now it was packaging his information online so that he could serve his clients in multiple places, right? So I want you to imagine that instead of waiting months to make any money, you're actually getting paid to create your course within a couple of weeks, okay? So the 6 steps to launching, again, right course for the right people, your step-by-step process using instructional design, your beta launch, your beta process where you get proof of concept, and that's where you make money. And then after that, you make your final tweaks, you package and upload that online. Then you install systems to automate, several different options that you have here. And once you're done that, now it's time to launch and tie this into your business. And this is where the big money comes, all right? So I want to take you to the next big idea, and that's how to read the minds of your tribe and use that information to create a course empire. Now, I'm going to take you behind the scenes in my leadership education business, okay? So I'm going to share some things with you that I typically don't share this stuff, but this is some of the secrets to me selling courses and moving my business along, okay? So look how this works. So when people come to my leadership website, and there's lots of different ways where they get there, but I have various forms of email capture for them to sign up for free email or free leadership training. So they do that. But soon after they sign up, in fact, right away, my email system segments them by, it's just a quick question. I want to know, what level of leadership are you, or what role do you play? And soon as I find out that, my email system will tag them. So now I know who's the senior executives and who's in HR, and those are the two groups I'm most focused on. I ask them this question: what are your biggest challenges? And I have a couple of questions actually that I ask them. And so they fill that out, right? And basically each one of those groups begins to get a series of emails from me. But when they fill out the form about what are your biggest challenges, these come into my inbox. So check this out. This is senior executives. So you just all these emails. I can't even keep up with all these. Here's the mid-level managers. Here's the frontline managers. Again, I don't even open them all because I just can't keep up with it. But if I did open, here's what they look like. You see that, please tell me the three biggest challenges you face when it comes to leadership. And then there's a second question that says, because this is an anonymous survey, what are some of your biggest fears and insecurities you have as a leader? So look over on the right side there, dealing with negative people who push against changes. So from time to time, I'll review these and I'm like, what are people's biggest challenges? And what I noticed was one of the challenges was having those tough conversations. And that's where the genesis came for one of my recent beta launches, which I showed you about already, the art of difficult conversations. And so that's where that whole thing came from. It came from that automated back end. So I'm not just creating courses because, I think this might be a good idea. I'm meeting the needs of my tribe, and that ensures, it almost guarantees that the course is going to be successful. And I've got this process now down so much to a science that I can do this quickly. So quickly that recently I went from idea to sale. So in other words, I noticed that some people were talking about a lack of confidence. And so I created a beta course and I only opened it up to a really small group. And I had the idea, after I looked at some of the things, I set up a sales page, and from idea to first sale in my bank account, 4 hours. I even impressed myself on that one. 4 hours. I went from idea to this to money in my bank in 4 hours. Here's the thing. When you have this, when you have an automated back end like this, you will never have to worry about income again. Also, you will be able to launch beta courses at any moment and almost guarantee that they will be successful. And you will have a system in place that sells on autopilot. That's important. And you know what? For me, you can make money from wherever you are, and that's important to me. So I had always wanted to go down to the Amazon, and recently I did. I took off and I went down there, and I was actually on this boat. I was on this boat on a private tour, and it was so awesome. And here's one of my guides, and I was in the jungle for, it was maybe 5-6 days. No internet, no Wi-Fi. You know what? When I came out of the jungle, you know where the end of the story goes. I checked, and I had made money while I was in the jungle. That's the key, and that's what you can accomplish when you have an online program that's going to speak to your tribe to help them solve a problem or reach a goal. Okay? So just in review, on today's training, I walked you through the 6 steps for speakers to create successful online programs. I also gave you 6 big ideas, big ways that you can use an online course to actually fit hand in glove with your business and drive more business, even speaking jobs. I showed you how instructional design is the key. It's not just about chopping up your speech and making that your course. I walked you through the beta course process and how to do that. I showed you behind the scenes in my business on how I segment people through a certain email flow. I even showed you an idea of how it went from idea to sale in 4 hours. So my question is, do you feel like your time on this training has been well spent? I really hope so. And can you see how a profitable online course can radically help you achieve more money, more freedom, and have more impact? And if you're yes to both of those, then I want to give you one last bonus idea. Bonus big idea number 5. And that's to take the path of least resistance. Now, for some of you who don't know me, then you would not know that I climb mountains. Now, I've never climbed Mount Everest, but this is the Khumbu Icefall in Mount Everest. And in fact, in order to get to the summit, if you're going up the south route, you've got to go through here. But no one goes through here without the help of the ice doctors. That's a group of talented Sherpas who go up every year, and they find the path through this crazy labyrinth of ice. And that's when all the teams come and they just follow the path. But I'm telling you, no one gets up Everest without these guys, because if you go into this yourself, good chance you're going to fail. Is it hard to climb Everest? Absolutely. Well, creating courses can feel a little bit like this because it feels like there's 1,000 details. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. I'm not going to lie about that. Creating an online course is hard. It's a big project. Can you do this yourself? Well, here's the thing. A lot of speakers, you've figured out a lot of things by yourself. And can you do it yourself? Well, you can. Just like removing your appendix. You can remove your appendix by yourself. Here's a guy who was a Russian named Rogozov, and he was in Antarctica in the early 1900s, and he realized that he needed to take his appendix out, but he was the only doctor there, and so he had to perform an auto-appendectomy rather than die not doing anything. Well, he did have to have somebody hold the mirror, right? But he did it himself. Listen, there are some rare times you can do it yourself, but here's the thing. What if another 6 months go by and you still haven't completed your course? Meanwhile, other speakers in your industry are going to create their course and be 6 months further ahead than you. But you have a choice. You can go it alone and do this yourself without any help, so you can try that. Or you can get it right the first time by learning from someone who has done this over and over again and continues to do this over and over again, right? So how do you know if you need help, though? How do you know if you need help? Well, here, ask yourself these questions. Do you have a process in course form to find out exactly how to best help your student and get them the results they desire? Do you know how to implement the best practices of instructional design so that your students happily stay engaged with your course content to the very end? And do you know exactly which business model you should use depending on your course topic? And do you have a process in place to take someone from a cold lead to a committed paying student? And do you know how to attract a crowd for your beta launch if you currently don't have one? And do you know how to choose the right course hosting solution for your type of course or industry? And when someone tells you that they want your course, but it needs to be in SCORM compliant for their LMS, do you know how to do that? And are you 100% confident you know how much you should charge for your course? And do you know how to structure ongoing pricing agreements with your corporate clients? Because if you don't have these things, then you're going to need some help. Well, how do you choose someone to help you? Well, let me give you some guidelines that you should use. Here's some questions you could ask. Well, have they actually created a successful online course themselves? And not just in the internet marketing world or how to make an online course, if you know what I'm saying. Have they helped others create successful online courses? And do they know the science behind education, instructional design, and behavior change? Also, do they understand the speaking and consulting business? Because our business is different than almost everyone's business. And are they able to help you break through the mindset blocks that are sabotaging your success when it comes to teaching online? Do they provide ongoing support so you can actually get the help you need? And have they been doing this for years, not merely months? Well, listen, the reason I say all this is because these are the standards I hold myself to. And these are why the people I work with are able to get results. Remember, Tim, almost 45,000 in the first 60 days. So listen, if you're interested in becoming a client and having me help you build your profitable online course business, here's how I can help. So for the next 4 days, I've set aside some 45-minute spots on my personal calendar to speak with you about your online course strategy. So these calls are absolutely free. There's no obligation to buy anything, but here's what we would do on the call. So we'll talk for roughly 45 minutes and map out an action plan for you to create your online course and use the systems we talked about today to accelerate and amplify your current income. And if it makes sense to work together, I'll show you how I can help. And honestly, this could be the most profitable 45 minutes you spend on your business this entire year, because I can help you turn that value that you have into a perfectly packaged online offering and then scale it past your goals very fast. But you must have the expertise to start with. And lastly, you have to want this. Like, I can greatly accelerate your speaking business, but you must be committed to going after your targets, or listen, don't waste your time. I'll also let you know that my fee is not cheap, but it's probably less than what you charge for a speech. And the good news is you only have to sell a few copies of your course to cover the cost. Now again, who's this for? Because this isn't for everyone. This is for paid speakers, for paid consultants, workshop trainers, or seminar leaders, basically anyone who makes their living by selling their expertise from the stage, right? That's what this is all about. And so again, one of the things I notice with speakers is that we get these ideas and we have this intention to create an online course, but we're not focused. We don't finish the project, and therefore we're leaving so much money on the table. So if this sounds like you, then book a strategy session now. So how do you do that? If you don't see a button pop up on the screen here, then you look for it below the video here, or go to this URL. Go to gururocket.com/schedule. All right, gururocket.com/schedule. And listen, I'm only doing so many of these calls. And as I said, you are leaving money on the table by not having an online course or a program. Now, everyone has their different reasons for doing this. I've shared some of mine with you, of what's big to me. But if you're tired of this, if you're tired of just crawling through this, trying to have that breakthrough, then you really have to get your online programs going. Because let me also say this, we're running out of time. Those of us who are Gen Xers, those of us who are boomers even more so, we're running out of time. And so you might be saying, hey, I've never done this before. That's okay. I'll guide you through this. Hey, I don't know how to set up the tech. Hey, you can't say that anymore. I'll guide you through this. Hey, I don't know how to find students. That's okay. I'll guide you through this. Hey, I'm afraid of failing or just not being enough. Listen, don't worry about that because I'm going to help you. It's your time to launch. It's time to get your online programs created. So listen, book a call with me at gururocket.com/schedule. Again, if you don't see the button on the side of the screen, it's going to be below the screen. And if you don't see a button at all, just go to that URL. You're going to come to a page that looks like this, and you'll just select a time. It's going to ask you a few questions, which will help me understand a little bit more about your business. And then we will jump on the call together, and it will be a great time. All right. Listen, that's all I got for you today. I hope that you got a lot out of this training. Again, it's just great to connect with you, and I look forward to talking with you later.